Did you know that adopting a whole food, plant-based diet has been shown to have potential in reversing? Hang on. All right. That was not good. Okay. I'm going to start it over. It has potential for reversing type 2 diabetes. Hang on. All right. Sorry for the little technical difficulties. All right. We'll start over. Did you know that adopting a whole food plant based diet has the potential for reversing type 2 diabetes? And this approach, really, what it does is it means emphasizing consuming whole food, minimally processed foods derived from plants. And so today we are delving into why whole food plant-based foods can reverse diabetes. We're going to talk about some practical tips that you can use to add more plants to your lifestyle. And we are also going to talk about why getting diabetes might just be the blessing that you were looking for. And I have a really special case history or success story to talk to you about today as well. All right. So we have lots to cover, and we're going to dive in to our stuff. But I'm going to start with a story. All right. I want to start by talking about a retreat. So there were 6 people who had diabetes, and they were advanced stages of diabetes. They weren't just diagnosed yesterday and put on metformin to start with. They were actually people who had other issues starting to crop up, like kidney failure. Many of them were on insulin. These and they were different ages. They ranged from a student who was in grad school, so in their 20s, all the way up to people who were actually retirement age. And so these 6 people went to this retreat, and they learned, they had lots of medical attention. They had a lot of information about the health benefits and their health and diabetes. They also had they helped with the cooking, and they were really immersed in the whole food plant based lifestyle. This retreat was for 10 days. And if you can believe, at the end of the 10 days, 5 out of the 6 people that were on the retreat who participated were off of their medications. 10 days, 5 out of 6. And the 6th person had a significant reduction in the medications. And so there is lots of evidence, we're going to talk about it, that a whole food plant-based lifestyle, that's not junk food, that's whole foods, plant-based, and minimal oil and fats, or processed fats. So we definitely want to get our fats in, but not processed fats. And so they got all of this information. And when they went home, unfortunately for some, they didn't continue to practice. They had a lot of social pressure. And, their family didn't get all this information and learning. So they didn't understand what the benefits were. And over the period of 6 months, some of them, they stayed strong and they are still doing well. Others had slipped back into their old habits and were actually seeing that their medications were on the rise again. So I think that's a good indication of what is possible. All right. So why and how does our plant-based lifestyle be able to help us to reverse our diabetes. And by the way, other chronic diseases. It's not picky about which ones. All right. So the first thing is I'm going to do a little review. Yesterday we talked about the factors that contribute to type 2 diabetes and type 1 diabetes, which is really an autoimmune, I guess, disorder where the body is not producing much, if any, insulin, also can be impacted positively by a whole food plant-based lifestyle. It is possible. You may not be able to get off of insulin, but you can greatly reduce it for sure. It is possible. But we're kind of focused on type 2 diabetes, which we talked about being a lifestyle disease. It typically comes about maybe a little bit of genetics, but our epigenetics or our lifestyle will trump our genetics almost every time. Obesity plays into it, inactivity, poor diet, which is typically the standard American diet or Western diet that is full and rich in processed foods and animal products. Our age can play into it. However, I will say that as we have more and more reliance on the Western diet and fast foods, and people are not cooking at home, et cetera, we are seeing younger and younger people getting type 2 diabetes. Hormonal changes can play an impact. Stress and poor sleep can also play an impact. And definitely insulin resistance is a big one. And I think, it's kind of been a buzzword. You hear a lot about it. So we did dive into what insulin resistance is. And a normal insulin function, the insulin will grab onto a cell through an insulin receptor, and then it allows the sugar or glucose molecules to enter into the cell. When we are insulin resistant, what happens is our fat cells will have inflammatory substances that it's excreting that will slide in to those insulin receptors, and the insulin itself is unable to grab onto the receptor, and then there is no mechanism for the glucose to get into the cell. And when that happens, we end up with a buildup of the glucose, and then our pancreas starts producing more insulin. And you can see that it becomes a bit of a vicious circle or cycle, and we end up with eventually too much high blood sugar because we've got a lot of glucose that isn't able to get into the cells still in our bloodstream, because at some point the pancreas just can't, and the insulin can't keep up with this insulin resistance. And that's when we end up with pre-diabetes and then full onset diabetes. Okay, so that's what we covered yesterday. And then we also talked about some of the long-term effects. It's not just about the fact you have to be on medications, but there's other diseases and issues that come up, including cardiovascular disease, neuropathy, kidney damage, eye damage, foot complications, skin conditions, cognitive decline, including Alzheimer's. And with the neuropathy, where you can't feel your feet and you end up with skin conditions and complications, this is where people end up having amputations because they end up with infections that turn into that are unable to heal, and they end up having to have amputations. So we talked a lot about that yesterday, but let's go to the positive side about what we can do about it and how a whole food plant-based lifestyle can actually help to reverse your diabetes. All right. So the first thing that a whole food plant-based diet does, and again, whole foods, not processed foods, no animal products, especially dairy and eggs. And also, we're looking at getting our fats from healthy sources and not processed oils like cooking oils for the most part. And so when we adopt this, we're improving our insulin sensitivity so that those fat cells that were releasing the inflammatory substances will be there'll be less of that, and more of the insulin can actually attach to those receptors on the cells. And so a whole food plant-based lifestyle is actually rich in a number of things: fiber, antioxidants, and phytochemicals that will help to work to improving the insulin sensitivity. Uh, and there is research that shows that individuals on a whole food plant-based diet have better insulin sensitivity compared to those who are consuming our standard Western diet. And there was a study published in 2018 that found that plant-based diet significantly improved the insulin sensitivity in overweight individuals. It also helps to reduce inflammation. So chronic inflammation is kind of like a smoldering fire in your house. It's not, it may not be a blazing fire, a 3-alarm fire, but it's just smoldering, waiting for something to happen. And so this chronic inflammation is actually a major contributor to insulin resistance. So whole food plant-based foods actually contain anti-inflammatory compounds that will help reduce the inflammation. And so those antioxidants, which we talked about already in our fruits and vegetables, will help neutralize free radicals, and they reduce the oxidation and inflammation. So they're going to help remove some of those fires that are smoldering in our body. Now, there is something to be said that inflammation does, as we get older, does kind of creep in, but by having lots of fiber, food that's rich in antioxidants and phytochemicals, you are able to reduce how much inflammation that you have in your body. And so there was a study in the Journal of American College of Cardiology in 2017 that demonstrated that the plant-based diet reduces the markers of inflammation. And in a randomized control trial, participants on the plant-based diet showed lower levels of inflammatory markers compared to those on the regular omnivore diet. So again, there's lots of research that actually shows that this we can reverse our diabetes. The other thing that's important, and I'm going to definitely do a full week on gut health, but the fiber in our whole foods, our plant-based foods, will be prebiotics, which is food for all of those healthy, important, beneficial microorganisms and bacteria that we need to actually be healthy and have good health. And our gut is kind of said to be our second brain, and we really need to have a good health in our gut to remain healthy. There's lots of things that from problematic health issues that come up when our gut is suffering. And so this healthy gut microbiome will improve our digestion. It enhances our nutrient absorption and again, it's going to help reduce our inflammation. Uh, we are also promoting weight loss and weight management. We talked yesterday that the fat, and you could see in the insulin resistance, the fat is, especially the visceral fat around our waist, has these inflammatory substances that are blocking the insulin receptors. And so if we lose weight or we're able to manage our weight, because it's one thing to lose weight, it's another thing to keep it off and maintain a healthy weight. And I know that better than anyone else. So that is really part of the really important. And so if when you're eating a whole food, plant-based lifestyle, and again, you're eating healthy fats, which are mostly coming from foods. There, you can have a little bit of oil, but we're talking about either flaxseed oil or a olive oil that is cold pressed or extra virgin, and limiting that to a small amount every day. This is where you're able to get good nutrients, high level of nutrients, low calorie density. We're going to be satisfied. And let me tell you, I know when I'm eating a good, healthy, plant-based lifestyle and staying away from all the processed foods, and you can eat as much as you want till you're satisfied, and you don't need to feel full or starving or deprived at all. And with the fiber-rich foods, your satiety level will be high, and you definitely can lose weight without having to count calories at all, which is amazing. I love that. And so if we can manage our weight, that will help to make sure that we don't have those inflammatory substances coming from the fat. It also helps us to regulate our blood sugar levels. So when we are eating whole food, plant-based foods, they tend to be high in fiber, and they are lower on the glycemic index. I'm going to talk about dates. They're very sweet, but sugar is high on the glycemic index because it's just going straight into the bloodstream. Whereas when you talk about dates, they are slow to release the glucose into the bloodstream because they need to be digested with all of that fiber in it. So they don't, this high fiber content means you don't get those sugar spikes that you do with when you're just taking in straight sugar. And so it has been shown in research that a plant-based lifestyle or diet significantly reduces those A1C levels and people who have type 2 diabetes. So they've actually been able to show that in research. And then reducing our fat intake also helps with those fats that we say are unhealthy fats, the saturated fats, and the processed fats, those oils that are straight fat with nothing else to them, no fiber. If we lower those and we reduce our fat in our muscle and our liver cells, then we will improve our insulin sensitivity. And so basically what that means is a whole food plant-based diet can offer us, with scientific evidence, it offers us an approach to managing and reversing type 2 diabetes. And so by improving our insulin sensitivity, reducing the inflammation, and all of those wonderful things, we can actually manage and reverse diabetes. So then the question is some tips. How do we move towards a plant-based lifestyle? All right. So my favorite way is actually an all or none approach. That's me to a T, all or none. I jump in with both feet or I don't jump in at all. I have to commit fully. if I don't commit fully and I start slowly, some of those bad habits start creeping back in and I kind of lose my path and my way. And just because you go all or none and you commit fully and you jump in, maybe you don't end up perfect, but at least you can see where you land. And I started over 10 years ago. I jumped in, I made some changes to my lifestyle that I didn't even expect that I was going to make. And I wasn't expecting to become plant based, but I did because I felt like I wasn't missing anything from the animal products. So I decided not to add them back in. But then I also had other things that I was trying not to add back in. I'm going to name one: pasta. One of my favorites, pasta. But I ended up, eventually, I did end up, the pasta came back in, but I was at least further ahead than I was before I started. So I was on my journey. And that's, I think, what I want to stress is be on the journey. Just take that first step. And so if you are an all or none kind of person, commit fully, do it. Set a date when you're going to actually do this. That way you can do some planning. You can prepare your family if you need to do that. Get your family involved if they're, especially if you have, kids. You can get them to help you with making meals and doing the vegetables. I know in my house, if I cut up vegetables and have them in the fridge, they disappear. But if I have, let's say, carrots that aren't cut up or cabbage or something, they, I'm going to tell you a story. I just came back from a vacation. I was away for 10 days. Before I left, I had all this cut up cabbage and all these vegetables that were cut up in nice containers, and they just kind of disappear on me. When I came back, all of those vegetables that were whole and not cut up were still there. They so cut get your kids involved. This way, if you go full in, you can clear out some of those. Actually, I would recommend this anyway. Clear out some of those all of the processed foods. Get rid of everything if you can. Stock up on plant-based essentials. A great thing to do is plan your meals. If you know what you want, that's even better. We have our 14-day Kickstart program where we have a very simple meal plan. It is as simple, I think it's as simple as it gets. Am I right? It's very simple. There's not much to it. You can get your variety, but also it's very easy to follow. And once you get the hang of it after a week or two, it's actually committed to memory. You don't even have to look anymore. And so that's the way it's designed. And so if you can do that, then you're on your way. Also find support. Again, we're doing our 14-day Kickstart program where you can just get your toes wet, jump in for 2 weeks. And I really call it a Kickstart because I want you to continue, but at least it gives you a chance to try. So embrace the challenge as well. Try new recipe and new foods. Educate yourself. If you're here, you are involved in educating yourself, but there's a lot of stuff that you can learn on just kind of whole food, plant-based diet, nutrition and stuff. And then you can also track your progress. So there's 2 ways to do that. You can journal. So one of the things I say is when you start, put your starting point. How are you feeling when you start? What's your energy levels? Do you have aches and pains? I started the program in February, and I didn't even realize it, that all of those joint pains that I had in my fingers and my hips are gone. I have none of those problems have creeped in unless I start eating junky food. But as long as I am eating a good, clean diet, all of those things have gone away. So kind of mark where you are and then track your progress. Do a journal. And the other thing that I do that I started, my scale has become my best friend. It's my accountability partner. Before, I hated getting on the scale, but now I view my scale as a positive. And every morning, yes, every morning, which I would never do before, I get on the scale. And yes, do I go up and down? Yeah, I'll go up by, like, I would say I could be even a pound and a half, but I know that it's temporary and I'm seeing the trending down. And as a matter of fact, I had a little bit of a plateau for about a month where it went up and down, but never really progressed to have any downward trend. But I just kept going and I kept on monitoring, and now it's back to going down again. Yay! So track your progress. It's good. It's good. And yeah, the scale can be your best friend. It's my accountability partner. The other way you can do it is gradually. So if the going all in is not your way of doing things, and it's true, like not everybody's going to want to go all in, then here's some tips for you. Look at adding new foods, adding plant-based foods. Don't look at the fact that you're taking it away. And that goes for all, like, even if you're going all or none, add to it, don't take it away. And if you add something like a green smoothie to as a snack or whatever, I guarantee you that you won't have enough more room for some of those other processed foods. You're actually going to probably end up replacing them instead of, because if if you just add stuff, you got to take stuff away automatically, but think of it as adding, and adding beautiful foods that are going to be moving you towards better health and maybe reversing your diabetes. And again, gradually replace ingredients. You can look at, again, a green smoothie to replace a snack. Maybe your green smoothie replaces your breakfast cereal that's full of sugar or all these chemicals, especially if it's a boxed cereal. You could add some oatmeal instead. That's another great way to do it. You can say, I'm going to have a meal with beans instead of having chicken. So you could have, a nice bean, something with beans. Like you could do a bean burrito instead of a chicken or a beef burrito. So you could try that. You can also look at maybe having a plant-based Monday or meatless Monday or plant-powered Friday, and maybe pick a day of the week where you go plant-based to start with. And if you're going to do that, I think try and have a plan to go a little bit gradually more and more as you go. And if you're a gradual change kind of person, you probably are doing that already. Experiment with plant-based foods, and try recipes, try different foods, and also maybe you can explore some global cuisines, some different spices. If you haven't made smoothies, try a smoothie. And I'm talking about a green smoothie that has some leafy greens or vegetables in it, as well as fruit, and lots of nutrients in it. And if you're looking for that, we have some great videos that will show you how you can make your green smoothie. Educate yourself and empower yourself. So learn more about nutrition again. Reading your labels is also a good thing. If you can't pronounce it, it probably means you shouldn't be putting it in your mouth either. And I would just say, especially if you're doing whole food plant-based, you probably want to get familiar with your cooking skills or reacquaint yourself with your cooking skills. And if you have a plan, a very simple plan, and you know what you're going to be eating, it's less likely that you're going to reach for something you shouldn't eat. And I know that. I just came back from my vacation I mentioned. So what happens? I didn't get my groceries. I don't have all my food in the house yet. And what am I doing? I'm struggling. What am I going to eat? Not a good thing. then you have to spend more time convincing yourself which way to go. So if you've already got things ready and prepared, and you are, I guess, ready to go, prepared, and you know what you're doing, then you're less likely you're going to be reaching for the things that you shouldn't reach for, those processed foods. All right. And just in general, keep it simple. You can start with foods that are familiar. Do some batch cooking. So we do in our 14-day program, we do batch cooking 2 times a week. So you're not cooking every day. You can use convenient foods like cut up vegetables that you buy at the store. I buy my carrots already cut up. So I don't they're like shredded almost. So I don't have to do that because that's finicky. I also buy lettuce already washed, pre-washed and pre-cut, kind of, like a mix. And then I just have to dig in. I don't have to be doing a bunch of stuff. But don't be looking at convenience foods like ultra processed foods. That's not what I mean. Listen to your body. Again, monitor how you feel and adjust as needed. One of the things I've heard from people is that sometimes they feel like they're not getting, like they're weak, or that they just don't have the same energy. That shouldn't be. You should have more energy. Typically, in those cases, they're not eating enough. And that's the beauty. When you're eating a whole food, plant-based lifestyle, you probably can get to eat more foods and more delicious foods. So make sure you're eating enough, and then adjust as needed. Maybe some foods aren't agreeing with you, remove them or slowly add them in. If you're not used to, your gut isn't used to fiber, you probably need to add it a little bit on the slow side to get used to it. Stay positive, be patient, celebrate the small wins, celebrate just any little thing, and also be kind to yourself. If you slip up, you're not doing things 100%, it's okay. Just get back on the wagon. We talked about this a little bit on one of our videos, that if you are, going out and you're celebrating and you're going to be eating something that is processed, that's okay once in a while. But then the next day or the next meal, get back on track. Don't stay that way. I was on my vacation. I was with my parents, and we did some of their favorite restaurant foods. But it was not everything. There were days where we cooked, or I cooked, and we shared different ways of doing things. And we did eat well. And then we had a couple days where it probably wasn't the best, but we just get back on the wagon, and be kind to yourself. Don't beat yourself up. 80/20 rule works really well. All right. So I want to just say a couple words on choosing to be grateful. And you may not think of your diabetes as being something that to be grateful for, but I want to flip it around for you. If you have diabetes or you have some other chronic disease, think of it as a wake-up call. This is a signal to you from your body to say that you need to make a change. And it's your decision whether you make that change or not. But chronic disease often is brewing silently within us. We can't see it a lot. I had this when I was young. I thought, what foods I was eating, that I was healthy, and I was eating healthy because I didn't have any health issues. What I didn't realize is that I couldn't see them. They were brewing inside me. And it took a number of years before my body got to the point where it said, I can't do this anymore. And the issues like headaches and joint pain and issues being able to walk properly because my feet were sore, all those that came into play with me, they started to show up at some point, but it took a while for them to show up. So if you are, having some signals from your body, be grateful and use it as a sign that you need to make some changes to your lifestyle and be aware. And I want to leave you with a video of somebody who actually was able to reverse their diabetes. Very inspirational. It is Eric Adams, who is the current mayor of New York City. And he was, I'm going to let him tell his story. It's only 3 minutes long, but I think it's a fitting way to end today's segment. All right, so let me see where we go from here.
People often ask me about, my diabetes diagnosis and, what did I do to deal with it? I felt as though, this is part of getting older. We heard these stories before. You get older, you're supposed to get some form of chronic disease. And there was almost a surrender until the vision loss. It was like a wake-up call and say, you know what, if I'm going to have to lose this war of health, it's not going to be without a battle. I went to my computer and Googled, reversing diabetes. And I was just hoping to get a glimpse in what's in the universe of slowing down the progression of. How could I slow down my eye loss? How could I slow down the nerve damage? How do I slow it down? But when I started to see the R term used over and over again, reversal, 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 and I started reading some of the stories, I said, you know what, something may be to this. And that is when I started the journey of saying, you know what, it's no more living with, it was about reversing. And I moved in that direction. 3 weeks after that, my eyesight cleared up. My ophthalmologist, said, what did you do? What happened here? Because she told me to turn in my driver's license. She stated that you are no longer legally able to drive, And 3 months after following the diet, my blood pressure normalized. My A1C went down to a 5.7 to a pre-diabetes level. The ulcer went away. The nerve damage in my hands and feet went away. The numbness in my thigh went away. It was just amazing, that how fast the body responded. It was never my DNA, it was my dinner. Mother joined me at the age of 80. 15 years as a diabetic, 7 years on insulin, 2 months going whole food, plant-based, threw her insulin away.
I'm happier now. Yes, I'm happier now, and I learned a lot to know that I don't have to eat all that meat and all those unnecessary things that I was eating if it wasn't for my wellness. It was horrible for me to be eating like that. I would be bloated. I would feel uncomfortable. That's the best thing I could ever did for myself. Yes.
The body is like saying, I want to heal you. But every time I try to, you're making sure that you give me more poison to prevent me from doing my job. And all I did was get out of my body's way.
All right. I always get emotional when I hear stories like that. Any questions on reversing diabetes?
That was a very high impact That was a very high impact video. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, I get emotional seeing it. After seeing it 3 or 4 or 5 times, I still get emotional when I see it. But thanks for that, Kathy. And I also want to just say that because of what Eric Adams has gone through himself, he has made significant changes in New York City. Their hospitals and their school systems have added a lot more plant-based options. And I believe in the schools now, plant-based options are first and second of the choices that the kids have. And there have been studies that show if your choices are start with plant-based, you will take in those plant-based options first. You know, there's no, I guess, the strategy when you go to a buffet is they load you up with the things that you're going to take the things at the beginning of the buffet first for most people. You know, if you can get all those plant-based things in first, then you don't have any room for the other stuff. But definitely a good story, a good news story. And he's been very impactful in New York City, which is amazing. I love that part of the story as well, which we're not seeing here. All right.
And it was so quick. It was so quick.
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
I mean, to get your vision back, that's amazing. That's amazing.
So that's a really good point, is that it doesn't take long. Our bodies are amazing engineered machines. And if we give it the right food, we will see changes almost immediately. You know, you will see changes. It takes a while for everything to kind of work out and recover 100%, but you're going to see the changes almost immediately, which is really the amazing part of our bodies. Our bodies are just craving good food, so good nutrients so it can do its job, right? That's really what it's all about. And if you are interested in jumping in head first and trying a whole food plant-based lifestyle, or you just want to dabble in it and see what it's all about, we are doing our 14-day Kickstart program. We're starting on Monday, and you can get the information in the chat of where to go to find out more information and sign up. Or if you have questions, please DM me. We would love to have you join us on that journey. And you'll never know what you'll see in terms of how quickly your body responds. On that note, we'll see you tomorrow again for more on our plant-based lifestyle. Bye.